Alright, so now that we've cut out our fashion fabric and our interfacing, and we've basically pin based everything together and then hand basted it, we're ready to sew together this outer shell of our structured bodice. Okay, so let's go to the sewing machine and stitch this up. The first thing we're going to do is stay stitch all our necklines. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, we're at the machine. We're going to go ahead and stay stitch all of our necklines. Start with the front. Okay, we're at the machine. We're going to go ahead and stay stitch our necklines, and we'll do this at whatever our seam allowance is. So in this case, I have 1/2 inch seam allowance, so that is what I'm going to stay stitch it at. And we'll do a normal construction stitch on this. And here we go. And for the stay stitching, there's no reason to cut it in between. Just put one right in after the other. And again, I'm going to stitch every single neckline at 1/2 inch. So let's go ahead and speed that up. Alright, there we go. Stay stitch them all. And quickly clip these apart. Alright, so now what we want to do, we've stay stitched all our necklines. Flip it over, you can see a little better. Alright. Well, one more thing we want to do before we start sewing together is I'm going to stay stitch my center back at 1/4 inch. Okay, that will keep these two layers of fabric from flopping around too much when I start sewing this together. Okay, so let's do center back 1/4 inch from the cut edge. One. There's two. Alright, so there we are. Center backs have now been stay stitched at 1/4 inch. Just cut my threads. Alright, there we are. Okay. So let's go ahead and start sewing this together. Start with our front. Alright, so 1/2 of this I'll sew in real time, and the other 1/2 of the bodice I'll just speed up the sewing of it. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is sew together my princess seam. I'm just going to check and see if there's any ease here. Just see what needs to go against the feed dogs. Remember that we want to put the longer side against the feed dogs. Looks like that is. Alright. Because the longer side will go ahead and ease that in for us. Okay, here we go. Let's go ahead and start sewing this together. Again, I'm going to sew it together. I have 1/2 inch seam allowance. And I'm going to back tack at the beginning and end because this is a permanent seam. Alright, here we go. going to go slow. It's not a race. Trying to make a beautiful piece of artwork here. We can take our time doing it. Take out your pin as you go. And again, if you need to pin together your seams to make it easier to sew, feel free. Alright. My feed dogs have eased that in perfectly. These are matching now, where before they're about an eighth to 3/16 of an inch apart. Alright. And now I'll do my other princess seam. Okay. So, there it is so far, coming along. Let's go ahead and do our side panels now, our center, our side seam. Check and see if one seam is a little longer than the other. Looks like about the same. Go. Let's do the other side. And now for our last back panel. Okay. Okay, there it is. Let's go ahead and do the other side. All right, so this thing has been totally sewn up. Let's go ahead back to the ironing board and press these seams open. So we're ready to press the seams open on this. All right, use a pressing hand for this. So you have curved seams. And we're going to have to clip wherever we have a lot of contour here. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so there's one side pressed. Okay, so now I just need to press this side, and I'll speed that up to do it, but now you can see how it was done. All right, so let's go ahead and do the next side. All right, there it is. Pressed. Okay, so now we've done that, we need to eliminate some bulk from these seams. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to trim out all the hair form, this interfacing, out of these seam allowance. And this I'll speed up because it will take a minute, but we just want to trim it out on both sides too. Okay, so we're just going to make sure you pull back the fashion fabric of the seam allowance and trim it back, leaving about a 1/16 of an inch in there so that it doesn't disintegrate at the seam and come out. Okay, and again, we're just trimming out this interfacing. We're not trimming out any of the fashion fabric or anything. Okay, so you can see what it looks like. I've trimmed it out of that one side, and now I'll trim it on. And we're going to do that on both sides of the seam allowance. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. We'll speed it up. All right, so there we've trimmed out all this interfacing from the seam allowances on all the seams. We have one more step on this, and we want to go ahead and stay stitch the bottom edge of this at a 1/2 inch. All right, so let's go ahead and do that right now. Okay, we're going to stay stitch this bottom edge at a 1/2 inch. Here we go. Now make sure when you're doing this that your seam allowance here stays pressed open. You don't want the presser foot or anything to fold it over, create more bulk. There we are. Okay, let's go back to the cutting table. All right, here it is, constructed. There's our fashion fabric. We've sewn together our outer shell. That's the outside, and this is what the inside looks like right now. All right. And I can put it on the form too so you can see what it looks like on the body. All right, everyone, so here is the bodice. You just saw me sew it together. Here it is, I put it on the form. I'll just quickly spin it around. See, it's just pinned on right now. But you can see this doesn't have any structure underneath it right now. All I've done is sewn together and it's been interfaced. Okay, so just with that hair form interfacing I put in there, it's already maintaining a good structure. Okay, so you can see how important that interfacing is for the structure of the bodice. And then once we add the lining that's been interfaced and boned, you'll see how much better it even looks and how well it maintains its shape and holds its form. Okay, so there it is, just the outer shell sewn together, interfaced on the form. You can see how well it holds its structure. And now we can go ahead and start putting the lining into this. All right, see you in the next video. Bye.